Moon Letter, Astrological Podcast.
The Astrology of Holst's Planet Suite by Ben Belinsky. As well as being considered as a musical masterpiece, Holst's Planet Suite contains profound insights into the astrological characters of the planets of our solar system. Gustav Holst, who was born in Cheltenham, England in 1874, had a wide range of spiritual interests. The titles of some of his pieces will give you an idea of this range. The Hymn of Jesus for chorus and orchestra, 4 groups of choral hymns from the Rig Veda, and Savitri, an exquisite early opera based on a classic Hindu legend. But in addition to his interest in Indian religion, Holst was an amateur astrologer who used to cast the charts of his friends. And anyone with any feeling for astrology who listens to these pieces will recognize that he knew his stuff. The 7 pieces in this suite are organized in a sequence that makes sense musically rather than astronomically. We start with Mars, described by Holst as the bringer of war. I have to say that war is only one aspect of Mars. Only when the energy is out of balance does it get violent. From an astrological point of view, Mars is related to physical energy, action, and decision, competitive but not necessarily warlike. Having said that, Holst's sound picture of the red planet starts with deep, menacing growls of brass over a driving but lopsided 5/4 rhythm beaten out by the strings and timpani. Da-da-da-dum, dum, da-da-dum, da-da-da-dum, dum, da-da-dum. It's interesting that he didn't choose a 4/4 march rhythm. That would have been too obvious, and also maybe too militaristic and gung-ho. The glorification of war obviously wasn't Holst's intention. The theme is carried by the brass, trumpets, trombones, and horns, reaching a shattering quadruple F forte fortissimo climax. Some astrologers are of the opinion that Holst's devastating sound picture of the red planet was influenced by the time he was writing, during the build-up to the First World War. Others feel that the energy he was picturing was a composite of Mars and that soon-to-be-discovered outer planet, Pluto. Venus, the bringer of peace. After the shattering climax of Mars, something soothing is needed, and Holst provides us with a delicately shaded picture of Venus. The brass and percussion can have a rest. They're not needed here. The tonality is soft, almost translucent, and the mood is gentle, starting with flutes and horns, backed by harp arpeggios and the bell-like tones of the celeste, characterizing Venus as the planet of peace. Lyrical violin solos, lush strings, and caressing woodwinds proceed in a slow, unhurried pace, the music barely rising above a pianissimo. Venus is indeed considered to be the planet of aesthetic sensibility and beauty. After Venus comes Mercury, that Holst describes as the winged messenger. In this delightful celestial cameo, the planet of communication is portrayed as subtle and fleet-footed. The themes, as in much of Holst, are from English folk music. The surface is light and fast, brilliantly coloured, frolicking playfully along, the perfect scherzo. Mercury is followed by Jupiter, the largest planet in the solar system, for astrologers the planet of growth and expansion, the energy that amplifies and emboldens everything it touches. Holst describes Jupiter as the bringer of jollity, and this piece has become the big hit out of all the pieces in this suite. Holst captures the various facets of the astrological meaning of Jupiter, not only the joy, but also the nobility, the bustle of city life, the galumphing of a peasant dance, as well as religious aspirations. In fact, the big tune, swelling with pride, was set as the hymn, I Vow to Thee My Country. Everything in this piece is rising, expanding, aiming towards the heights, towards freedom and victory. It's heady stuff, and no wonder it's the most popular piece in the suite. Saturn, the bringer of old age. This is the longest and most emotionally profound of the pieces in this suite. It trudges along at a slow, regular, walking pace, accepting the duties of life, then striving, struggling, as if the hill were getting steeper, the burden heavier, the journey more challenging at every step. And at the climactic moment there is the clamour of a chiming clock, reminding us how we are bound to time. But Holst doesn't leave us there, nor does Saturn. It is by accepting the obligations and restrictions of life that we are free, and in that freedom is a serenity, and that's how the piece finishes. By the way, if you check out Holst's birth chart, you'll see Saturn on the ascendant in Aquarius. Saturn is a planet that Holst knew very well, and in fact this piece is known to be his favourite. Uranus, the magician. Holst's Uranus is full of surprises. Starting with a raucous fanfare, interrupted by drums, it then turns into a madcap dance, broken by thunderbolts from the percussion, with crazy cross rhythms, sudden accelerations and changes of key. It reaches a climax. You think it's finished. There's silence. Distant murmurings of celeste and strings. The fanfare returns for a final blast, disappears, and we're left with the gentle tinkle of the celeste. Yes, that's Uranus. Sudden changes of gear, shifts of reality. Uranus operating outside the grammar of linear time, outside of past, present, and future, as if time had shortcuts, echoes, and pre-echoes that for Uranus are quite logical, but for us seem crazy and disruptive, until you give up trying to understand and just roll with it. Neptune the Mystic. After the craziness of Uranus, Neptune's piece allows the listener to drift off and out into the boundlessness of space. There's a melody that floats over a shimmering background, never resolving till the piece fades out into silence with a wordless female chorus. Perfect for Neptune, for whom there are no boundaries, only mystical oneness. What about Pluto? Holst's Planet Suite was written in 1914 to 1916 and premiered in 1920. Pluto wasn't discovered until 1930. In the year 2000, composer Colin Matthews wrote a piece called Pluto the Renewer to follow on from Neptune. Then, in 2006, Pluto was demoted from planet to dwarf planet, as if Pluto could give a damn. And frankly, the Planet Suite by Holst is perfect without the new addition. Unfortunately, I can't illustrate this podcast with musical extracts for copyright reasons, but there are some excellent recordings available online, and if you can, get along to a live performance.
And for more astrological and spiritual musings, check out moonletter.co.uk.